We are now seeking a habeas corpus and a post-conviction. A habeas corpus, a 99.141, which is ineffective assistance of appellate counsel. A 3850 is ineffective assistance of trial counsel. It is our intention to do the habeas corpus ourselves against everyone else's better judgments. We're told that we shouldn't, that we're not going to win if my son does the pro se. But what choice do we have when we don't have the money for it anymore? What choice do we have? I was advised that if we're going to do it, we still need to do what is called a 3850, which is a ineffective assistance of trial counsel. For that, we need an attorney. I have been advised to not use attorneys in Orlando. A very nice attorney told me, an Orlando attorney told me, Pamela, if you use Orlando attorneys, you're going to get caught up in that clique, and they're not going to do anything because they do not want to go against one another. He told me to use attorneys in Tallahassee. He said, long as the attorney can practice in Florida, I can use any attorney. Does not have to be an Orlando attorney. So I began seeking attorneys that live in Alabama and can practice in Florida, on that borderline. I'm looking into a Tallahassee attorney. However, I am trying to get this legal defense fund of $50,000 because there isn't any more money. I've exhausted everything that I have. I'm in bankruptcy. Everything I own is in bankruptcy, but I continue to work. I work 50, 60 hours a week. I've had 2 hip replacements, 2 carpal tunnel, polyps in my throat. I refuse to go out on disability. I can. I was told I could. I will work. I work in a steel mill. I manage a daycare from my home on Saturdays. I have these little bulk vending machines, the ones you put the quarter in and you can turn and get a bubble gum out of. I got a few of those in town. I'm not afraid to work. And this has been going on for so many years. It's my first time coming to you all for donations. Now, the church has helped in the past, but I can't expect them to keep helping. Nobody wants to keep putting out this money if it's not going to be used, or rather, if it's not going to help. I didn't know. I know now. Experience is a teacher. I know not to use any more Orlando attorneys. I know to use Alabama attorneys that can practice in Florida. This is what I'm coming to you for. I have a website. It's called justiceformyson2.com. That website, if you start from the beginning post and scroll up, it tells the whole story. You could also read A Mother's Nightmare. Part of the story is there too. I have a Twitter account, Justice for My Son 2 or Justice for Him 2. Instagram, Vine. My name is Pamela Ajaloko. My son's name is Charles Ajaloko. I'm seeking help from the world. I'm seeking help from anyone that sees this video, because this can happen to you. This can happen to you. When is it okay for a prosecutor to encourage a victim to lie on the witness stand? When is it okay for a prosecutor to withhold information that is beneficial to the defense? When is it okay for an attorney to collaborate with the prosecutor at the expense of his client? When did the American justice system become the American justice system for the rich? Prosecutors and public defenders, even private attorneys, often want a defendant to take a plea, whether they are guilty or not. It's the easy way out. It is convenient. Unless you can afford to pay for excellent representation, I'm not even going to say adequate. Adequate will cost you about $25, $30. A poor person doesn't stand a chance. The Constitution of the United States guarantees its citizens a right to a fair trial. This means that processes will be fair, and it prevents governments from abusing their powers. The right to a fair trial is one of the cornerstones of a just society. America was supposed to be the leader of such a society. Yet America incarcerates more people than any country in the world. And a significant portion of these people are wrongly convicted and harshly punished and sentenced. As Americans, we like to believe the rule of law in our country is respected and fairly applied, and only those who commit crimes of fraud or violence are punished and imprisoned. But the reality is often different. The reality is, if we do not put a stop to this in its early stages, prosecutorial powers are only going to get more. So many times you see in the paper, man exonerated after 35 years. John Doe exonerated after 25 years, after 20 years. That's wonderful. I think that's a great thing. A lot of nonprofit organizations looked at my son's case. They didn't take his case. They didn't say, the reason why, but I know why. Because he has 10 years left. 10 years. That's not long enough to be interested in trying to exonerate someone. What I want to say to them is this. Yes, I'm happy when you exonerate someone after 20 years. But I tell you something. They done lost 20 years in prison. The prosecutor who committed the prosecutorial misconduct, he's probably retired, if not dead. It doesn't affect him. He got what he wanted. He knew his misconduct caused a person to be wrongly convicted. It didn't bother him 20 years ago. It's not going to bother him now. I ask you something. That same person who you got released from prison after serving 20 years, ask him, what would he prefer? To be exonerated after 20 years? Or after 1 or 2 years? You see, this is how I feel. Let's start now. Let's start after they've been there. Let's start right away when you know somebody's been wrongly convicted. Then you know what happens? Then the prosecutor's eyes open up. Because what happens is this. If you get someone out within the first few years, that prosecutor is still a young man, is still an ambitious man. If you get someone out in the early stages, that's going to hurt the prosecutor. That's going to hurt his credibility. The time to start is now. The time to start is when they are young. My son is now 24 years old. He was 22 when he went in. 12 years to a 22-year-old is like a lifetime. Why not start now? Start now. Wake them up. Wake up those prosecutors and say, hey, we're going to start these wrong convictions now so these young people can have a life. I promise you, when you do that, when we get one, it's going to start a chain reaction. Do you understand me? It could be you. It could be someone that you love. Let it be my son right now. Help me. Help him. Help us. Help America. Thank you. Pamela Argiloco. JusticeForMySon2.com. My fundraiser will be through, I think it's Go Get. Forgive me. It's my first time doing this. It will be posted on my blog, and I will follow the instructions as to how to get this established. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for your time. And have a good day. And for all our Alabama fans, because Charles is a die-hard Alabama enthusiast, roll tide. Roll tide. Charles says, roll tide.